I know in all legends there is a truth. It is possible for a person in this generation to be connected to those ancestors from the past.
Totems are a storyteller. They're also a sign of who you were. My name now is presently Hosumdas, passed down from my grandfather to my father. A chief's duty is to uplift his family and to uphold his community. Roy Vickers, my mother adopted him as her son. We've become brothers. Part of his responsibility that he wanted to do was to replicate Hosumdas, a pole that he was connected to before we became family. He'd come to the hall here at at the Museum of Anthropology at UBC, and this pole always called him.
53 inches to the bottom of that arrow. Good. All right. You're ready now.
I've been Tlaquagila, a hereditary chief of the House of Waka since 1994.
I grew up in my early years with no knowledge of who I was.
147.
I knew nothing of my culture. We played on the totems, and totems were all around me, but no one talked to me of them. Nobody told me legends, nobody talked. But I grew up with people whose knowledge and expression of their culture was suppressed by the government and by the religious organizations that ran the schools. I went to residential school in Alberta.
The summer I turned 17, I got out of the school in Alberta and came home to my family, who I missed so much, but they weren't home. They were in this big city.
When I got to this city in Victoria,
I realized that people saw a different person than I thought I was. I wondered, well, who am I?
and so for me, the struggle was to try and figure out who I am and what is my responsibility in the world. The original Great Raven Totem stood in front of the big house of the ancient Hosumdas, our ancestor. Nobody knows the story, including our Auntie Evelyn, who's the elder in the community today. All she calls it is the Great Raven. It's my understanding that that totem was stolen from the village site in the 1960s. This totem was taken from my family and winds up in the museum. Do I resent that? No. The beauty of that is that I became connected to that before I knew anything about the House of Wacas. I even said to Ted once, I'd really like to carve a replica of the Hosumdas totem. Where would I go to find the tree? To me, Rivers Inlet is one of these magic, hard-to-access places on the west coast of British Columbia. If you can get to, the majesty of the place is incredible. At the head of the inlet is the Oakino River. The people who live there, who I am a part of today, they're just these incredible people in this tiny village in a very remote part of British Columbia.
Yeah, you can see the top.
This is the one. This is the one. This is the one.
All right.
This one too, you need long. Thanks, Chris.
The tree that was coming down is going to be reborn. So it dies and it comes into my hands and I give it a new face and a new life.
We didn't finish the song on purpose because this tree still has a journey to go. So when we're finished and we bring it back home, we'll finish the song then.
No.
Oh. Right on.
Yeah, you kind of have to draw the knife, eh?
Yeah,
Like
this
draw
is
it.
the one I think.
No, it's too big.
Too big?
I could be hanging down here and banging me in the nuts.
Maybe it's your nuts are too big.
Could be.
My whole life I've loved art. And the more I studied it, the more I realized how difficult it was to find a teacher.
In my quest to find out who I was, I started going to the museum because that was the only place I could really study about our people. And it's kind of strange because we're still alive, yet that's where I have to go, to a museum to study. On my trips to the museum, I frequented the carving shed.
And this man, Henry Hunt, was working on a totem, and I used to go there and watch him.
Eventually, Henry just said, "Hey, pal, you come here all the time. Where are you from?" So when I told him, he said, "Well, why don't you come in and grab a knife?" So I went and picked up a knife and started carving, and I've never stopped. Cedar. It's our sacred wood. For me, part of it is wanting to protect the cedar and impress upon people that it is a cultural icon. I'm working with something alive. My mind just goes everywhere, going to people, to friends, to ancestors. Studying the design, going back and forth to the museum and measuring the different elements of the design, and then actually drawing them connects me to the creator of the original design of the pole.
We don't know who the person was. We don't know the story in that person's mind. So the only story I know is knife cut by knife cut and shape by shape, built on this incredible, massive raven.
Come on, Roy. There you go. Okay, now we're going to see how long you can ride once I start to rock it.
I got goosebumps.
Holy smokes, man.
When you want something bad enough and you ask for it, then you better be prepared, because it's most likely going to be dumped in your lap, or the truth's going to slap you right across the face. 1992, Valentine's Day. I actually was sitting on the floor in the kitchen, and my ex had left with my son, and I hit the end of my rope, and I was ready to take my life. I actually screamed at the top of my lungs. If I knew of a fucking way out of this, I would have taken it. As quickly as those words were echoing off the walls in the kitchen, the message came to me. Your sister told you a year ago. She told you you were an addict, and you said bullshit. I'm looking around the house, and there was a box, and on the top was the envelope with the information that my sister had left for me about the meadows in Arizona, and you can go down there and people can help. I had just said if I knew of a way out, I would take it. Well, I had no choice. Okay, there's the answer. There is a way out. curves.
Oh,
I just take the oil white and put it down, and that's how I draw that curve.
Yeah.
So when you're finished drawing, all of the curves that where you're wedding things together,
Yeah.
marrying things together, are matching because they're from the ovoids.
Okay.
Yeah. In '92, I went through the recovery process. '94 was the year that Dorothy Walkus sent Ted to ask me if I would be adopted. I believe love makes a difference in the world, and we should live our lives with loving hearts. Your first litmus test is to go to the mirror and look that person in the eye and say, I love you, man. I couldn't do that for most of my life. And so for his mother to want me to be part of their family, that's a very big thing for me. Dorothy saw this young man who was working really hard and changing his life and wanted to help. I remember Ted coming up to me and he says, hey bro, my mom wants to talk to you. She wants to adopt you into the House of Walkus. And I said, oh my, what does that mean, Ted? Well, you'd be my brother. They asked me if I would be the replica, their peace dancer, which is, a peace dancer is a chief who is a healer. And she said, okay, now I want to put a name on you from our family. The name that you carry, you uplift. And so my name is Tlaquaquila. Somehow, everyone that have been mentors to me and all of my choices that I've made have brought me to this place at 71 years of age. I'm regenerating the Hosumdas totem, and if I hadn't gone through everything I've gone through, I wouldn't even be able to think that I could possibly do this. It's like you're part of this big jigsaw puzzle and somebody's finding all the parts and they're putting them all together. It began over 100 years ago when the first artist carved this totem. And what that did was opened me to this world and connected me to that whole idea of tradition and our relationship and our culture and our names. I realized that this totem that had been part of my life for so long because it stood in a museum was actually now part of my family's legacy. We live our lives to honor the ancestors. To me, this Hosumdas project is the biggest thing that I will be able to do to honor Dorothy and my adoption into the House of Walkus.
welcome you here and enjoy yourself while you're here. And we give thanks to the family for bringing the pole home and having the raising here today. I think it will go a long ways to pushing our culture and our language forward. So I thank you for being here to witness such a great occasion here. Beautiful. Hayanakachi. Wave.
I don't believe in predestiny, but it's kind of like that. It's like you're destined to be part of this family and to do this work. All of my life, 44 years of an artistic career, have all come together to prepare me for this. To see it stand in a place in the middle of the history of the totem, in the land of the history of the original totem, that's a powerful experience and a humbling experience, both at the same time.
For Nuakawa, my Auntie Evelyn, the matriarch of our family, it was really moving for her. It was really powerful to see that the next generation, they're all stepping up to the plate and carrying on those traditions. Her teachings will not die with her. Looking back and kind of thinking it through my mother's eyes, you know, she would be extremely proud of what Roy did. You don't know your language, you don't know your culture, because it's all been taken away from you. To be able to walk with your head held high and be who you are, who you're supposed to be, is so important and so good for your soul. This pole will continue to tell the story long after I'm gone. It shows the rest of the world that we're still here, we're still surviving, we're still practicing what our ancestors left us.
I think what I'd like people to learn from my life is you can change. You can make things better. You can bring back the strength and truth and beauty of your lineage. What I know is that the harder we work at being in the strength of who we are and the beauty of who we are and the truth of who we are, the more successful we will be in life. But that success is not about how much money I made, how many people I influenced. That success is about how happy I was to live the life I've lived and be connected to everything that I'm connected to.